Yeah. Hello, guys. Welcome to Sunday Shorts. And here we are with Mr. Samir Nagab in our second episode of live session. And hi, Samir. How are you?
Very good, very good. Suraj, how are you doing?
Okay. Good, Samir. I hope viewers are joining us. Yes, they are joining. And welcome to all the viewers. And I hope the session will be good with Samir. And I have lot of questions for you, Samir, for our topic today, which is digital transformation for IT industries during Corona time. Okay, as
Okay.
I've already shared with the viewers about your profile, but please brief us about yourself a bit.
Oh, about me.
Yep.
So, I'm CEO of a company called Stratbeans Consulting, and we are into digital learning technologies and things like learning management system and IT products. And we've got about 150 large corporates whom we serve, about 135 employees. So that's the kind of thing. And I am basically, I started my career as an IT professional. Then I did my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and then spent a lot of time in the industry, about more than 25 years in this IT strategy and implementation. Really, that's about me. Are you on mute by any chance?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Samir, for the introduction, for the brief. And so here we are going to ask you the first question of the session. Okay, today. So
Okay.
the question is, what's your view on the current situation of COVID-19 on global economy?
Okay. Now that's probably some sectors will be reborn in new avatar. And things like, for example, school education, you will see that homeschooling will become more mainstream. Such changes you will see, but mostly such jolts will definitely readjust the economy. But I have a like a favorable outlook out of that. Really, I think it would be a good one. All things considered, of course there will be some problems, some troubles in the short term. Some people will get affected, a lot of people will have a little bit of hardship. But the global economy, the way it is geared up, the way we are in this century, the way technologies are, there's a lot of positivity about it as far as I'm concerned. That's what I think. Again, maybe you are on mute, and we cannot hear you.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, yeah. I just don't want it to be last time because it was echoing last time in the episode. So that's why I'm
Oh
just
no,
keeping myself
absolutely,
mute.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So the second question to you is that IT is among the leading industries globally,
Hmm.
and right now, as I am also into digital thing. Okay, so
Hmm.
the AI and ML thing was booming in our time, and other technologies as well. So
Hmm.
will this growth stop during COVID-19, or or do you think that this will happen? I mean, innovation will keep happening.
Well, Suraj, so you mentioned these top-end technologies like AI, ML. There are a few more, and there are things like IoT is there. There's a lot happening on, biotechnology side. All those things are innovations which are happening, and there's no way to stop them. No reason for IT to stop growing. Really, it is only thing which has, very strong positive forecast for sure. The IT sector that you're talking about, the digital that you're talking about. Will the revenue of IT companies be affected badly? If that is what you're saying, maybe for a few months. That would you. I mean, that's one thing you will see for sure. But you see, brick and mortar sector, which you call offline businesses, they are literally offline at this time. So if they really need to spring back, you will see that they will have to piggy ride on these strong technologies. And in all the difficult times, we have seen that the current technologies of any time, any century, they have taken the people together across the hardship. So there's no reason to think that that will slow down. At least if your question was on IT, there's a very strong favorable outlook on that. So yeah, that one.
Okay. Okay. So IMF has also already declared about the recession, and this is going to be worse than 2008. So how will be the global recession impact the IT industry in India?
Okay, the global recession and especially IT industry.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see, IT sector has seen, you know, a few rebounds all the times around fault lines. What I mean to say is that if you're talking about 2008, you mentioned that 2008, the whole digital revolution picked up after 2008 only. If you see, there was some bit of Facebook was getting born around 2004. If you see, I mean, to be precise, 4th Feb 2008. 2004. But the moment there was crisis, you can see that afterwards digital economy really picked up. A whole social media revolution is after that. And don't forget the dot-com burst of 2000 also. That created Make My Trip and Naukri as superstars immediately after 2002. Like, 2000 and 2002 was a period when they started doing it. So, whenever, if you're saying recession, well, recession is possible, and it's a very, difficult thing to predict. But if you're talking about impact on IT industry in India, it's going to be a positive impact. And you can see many signs of that. I'm not talking about all the industries because that's very tough to fathom, and you have to really gaze into a crystal ball to really know what's going to happen. But IT industry is pretty good for that. I mean, well, short term no, but long term and maybe 6 months, future is good.
Okay. So what is going to happen till, I mean, for the next 3 or 2 to 6 months? That is going to be a question.
Okay, so I mean, because I had this company where we have these digital products, we have seen at least 57% rise in the inquiries. The prospects have started coming in that many big numbers, and about 15 to 18% order pickup has increased also, because we are into digital products. So I mean, we are seeing that. So what does that really mean for 6 months? Okay, so we'll have to go industry wise. So some other industries, of course, they have nothing that they can do right now. I mean, travel, for example, all that. Hotels, they're staying back. But there are certain other industries which have got a good chance. So look at auto industry, for example. You will see EVs will become little more. Uh, they'll probably become more possible after this, because the social distancing situation that you are seeing, people will like to own cars. So though you are seeing that in the short term the factories are closed and order may not pick up, but after that it will actually pick up. So it's a mixed bag, really. I mean, I can only comment on the next 6 month scenario for digital technologies, and they're really splitting at the seams right now, and there's a lot of demand. It's just that some of the organizations cannot work. They were not set up for work from home, so even if they want to, they cannot deliver orders. But digital technology companies, digital products, it's a half. They'll probably be very good right now.
Okay. Okay. So my next question to you is that will the development of coronavirus pandemic cause global stagflation in 2020, in this year only?
Stagflation, that's a big one. So you're saying stagnation as well as inflation.
Inflation, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now
correct.
see, stagflation, whenever it has happened, that has normally been around lack of demand. So stagnation might have happened, jobs may not pick up. So that you can see, stagnation part you can see. But combined with inflation happens for several reasons, and some of those reasons are pretty complex to go into. But many times you also see, in simple terms, if I say, if you see a place which is developing fast, if you go back to a normal time in economy, and you will see that places like Gurgaon grew fast, and then the costs also increased. So you could see a sort of inflation being associated with fast growth rate as well. Now, when you say stagflation, it's a very complex mix, very hard to predict. And when you're trying to predict, you have to see statistical proof around it. These situations that we are on right now, they're not really very statistically predictable situations. They're transitional phases. And what's going to happen here this year is definitely, you can see definitely a lot of jobs not being available for sure, people readjusting. So it's a transitional phase. Of course, you have to conserve cash and prepare as if you're preparing for a stagflation. So in that sense, I'll not be very hopeful. I'll say that 2020 is a year where you want to conserve cash, behave as if stagflation is possible. Even if you look at the government, they are trying to support all the industries by having some moratoriums on the EMI payments for loans, and so that the cash situation should not go wrong. Typically, when you are a company, if you're a business of any size, you whenever you're facing a situation like this, which could look like a stagnation, lack of demand and inflation, those things together, you have to have your controls around cash very strong, and that's a difficult task, but that we are all facing that in some way or the other. I mean, that's a tough time, because even if in IT industry does well, if the customers are not doing well, then they'll have a problem for some sort, really. I mean, your question is a little wider than IT industry when you ask me stagflation, but we have to be careful about it. Looks like it's not a pretty picture.
I actually asked you about global this thing. How do you see this in India, the stagflation thing?
So India has got a very different situation, really. While it is very connected, it's more connected than it was in 2008. In 2008, our economy did not fall that much because the savings were higher at that time. The kind of economic behavior people had, that was very different. But now I think we are more integrated with the world economy, so we'll have some impact just the way the other global economies face. The only positive is that because we are such a large labor intensive place, people can actually set up factories here, and that can help. I heard some news items where people were planning to some large steel industry customers, they were planning to start their operation in India in a big way. Some of my customers are large steel companies, so I realized that those things may go as a positive. India has always been below the curve, really, in that much, so it can only gain. So I mean, you if you compare it with a developed economy, they will take most of the hit. Countries like India, it's a catch-up time for them, so they will look for how can we serve our customers, and they can actually serve through cost arbitrage, and cost arbitrage is definitely very good in India. So there's going to be more room for more leg room for Indian companies that way. If you say that picture is going to be a little rosy for us.
What about the IT industry? Because you talked about the manufacturing plants and everything. That is right. But what about IT industry? Because as per the survey, I was reading an article that around 1.5 lakhs jobs are on stake, and people are going to lose job in next 3 to 6 months. Already, big firms are terminating their sacking of the employees. So how do you see this thing, that because this is not a short gap, this is a very long gap, around 3 to 6 months survival, and then you have to pick it up again, and like that. Okay, how do you see that?
I think this is a particularly very good question. All of us are trying to conjecture on this. I'll tell you my take, and let's see how it goes. So you talked about job losses. You were saying that about 1.180 million people losing jobs, something around that. Like, it's a huge number. You're talking about 1.5 lakh people will be losing jobs. If that is the case, it's going to create some short-term stress in the economy for sure. But I wouldn't worry too much about jobs in IT sector, because they will recover shortly. The kind of jobs that are there in IT sector, they are very configurable jobs, as we say. So people can turn a little bit and sort of be employable in some other companies also. So I'll give you some examples you might not have noticed around that. So you will see that new players are doing very well right now. Like mid-size IT companies are doing pretty well in some sense. So in a couple of months already, there's a lot of activity in IT sector. I'll give you example of a company called Blue Jeans. You may not have heard about it, but they were acquired by Verizon just as we speak. And what did BlueJeans do? Uh, no points for guessing. They were a competition to Zoom. You see, so there are sectors which are suddenly becoming very plumb, and they're the sunrise sector right now. So it is the time for entrepreneurs, especially the tech entrepreneurs, to rediscover and launch products which are relevant and useful in the new models, and where people are connected but they don't travel. And what would you need for that? You'll need people. I mean, IT industry is very people intensive. So what I was saying, you don't want to worry about IT sector job loss that much really, because they'll all readjust. Maybe the salaries will not be as crazy as that was. Maybe slightly, you may have to take a 10% pay cut if you're ready with that. But IT sector that already gives a lot of good salary. You seeing that?
Yeah, it's already happening everywhere. I mean, in big firms, in small IT firms, and the pay cuts are from 5% to 30%.
So you see, that's not do you see it always a way as a pay cut? When you put it like that, it sounds bad, but you try to see that little more. Then you will see that IT salaries, they are an input cost into the products that IT services companies make. So if it sort of mellows down and sort of cools down a little bit, it's not bad for economy per se. Well, there's a lot of argument against it also, but I'm saying that if you look at an IT person straight from college, what kind of salaries they command? Sometimes 5 lakhs, sometimes 8 lakhs. These are good salaries. And if they are middle to slightly higher positions, then 24 lakhs, 30 lakhs, these kind of salaries you talk about. Compare it with the per capita income of an average Indian in any other industry. So these salaries have a lot of room for a little bit of pay cut. I mean, so 10% and 30% pay cut on a 24 lakh salary, it may be bad for that person for a little bit, because they will readjust. So imagine, but I see it very differently. I'll say, look at this person. This person is not going to have food on the table. Someone poor and someone in another industry working in a let's say manufacturing job. I'm going to worry about that. As against this person in IT sector, definitely little room to worry, but they're getting such great amount of salaries. Their worries are that I may not be able to pay that EMI. It's a bad thing, but not as bad when you look at this other guy who's going to lose food, may not have food to feed the family. So I'm saying for IT sector, because the whole economic status was up here. So I mean, you won't worry too much about them, and they will get the jobs. Let's worry more about the people who are in non-IT field really, because they're going to have it hard for right now. Yeah, Suraj.
So there is one question coming from the viewer, okay, and I'm going to display it on the screen. Archana is asking that which sectors of the economy are likely to recover the fastest and which the slowest.
So which sector of the economy are likely to recover the fastest and the slowest? Okay, so that gets me thinking. I think slowest would be those places where the demand is getting killed. So what I'm saying is that imagine we look at the sectors like travel, we look at sectors like hospitality. Those sectors will recover slowest because their demand will take time to pick up. Social distancing and the fears around those, they will not go easily. The sectors which will rebound quickly would be the factories, because what is happening in factories is that the moment you can start them, you already have a lot of input material lying there, and you have to sort of. So I was talking to some industrialists from Kolkata, and they were saying they were making something like a 2 lakh fans per month, and a very large organization doing that. Now they just need to create 20,000 fans per month whenever they open. So that's like for 6-7 months they're covered. So they'll just run the operation. They'll have a So they want to keep their suppliers busy. So those kind of companies will start picking up a stream. But there's no way a hotel is going to pick up fast here. Event management, another big hit, so they're not going to pick up. I understand that MLM kind of companies will grow very quick right now, multi-level marketing companies. I was talking to CEO of a very large MLM organization. They have got their plans around, and they see that a lot of people who are getting displaced from a regular work are suddenly having no option but to become entrepreneurs. So look at that. So some of those industries are picking up. Another industry, if you, Suraj, I understand that you have a setup where you invest in companies. I'll tell you that the big bet is on companies which are providing health related facilities from their own, combined with a little bit of fun. So there are a lot of startups coming up right now, and they have tools to make you learn taekwondo from your home. And imagine that, and then people are dancing in front of those cameras, and they're sort of learning it. And this is the new trend which is picking up, and there's serious investment going into this. So these some uncommon type of industries will come up, you see.
True that. True. Yes. 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 Yes.
Thanks for asking that, Rachana.
There is one another question coming from Yogesh Methekar. Okay, I'm just going to display that. Hi Suraj, please also help us get some idea about the freshers who want to start their careers in IT industry. Advice, basically, yeah.
Now, I love this question, because you see, our hope is around these guys only, the people who are just getting into economy. So for two things, anybody who is almost on the edge and is going to be placed will find it a little difficult. So let's understand that. However, if you are still studying, I think what you want to do is you want to look up, you have a lot of leg room and you have got a lot of flexibility. So go for these digital kind of opportunities, organizations which are doing, let's say, digital technology for EdTech or HR tech. Those kind of companies are pretty hot right now. Anything which is helping you do a collaboration type of tools, that's pretty good one. IT companies are still a good bet for you. And definitely this is the time to sit back and sort of learn a lot of technologies. And what I see for freshers, a lot of very good names have opened up their online wealth, which is a lot of courses which are free now. I think I don't want to name all those companies here, but what I'm saying is that there's a lot to pick for you right now. And best of luck. I think when it comes to freshers, they are probably our best hope also, because some of you guys will start some new idea and something that we hear that a lot, isn't it, Suraj? So yeah, I mean,
Summit, yeah.
Yeah.
I also believe that skill-based thing is really important. I mean, if you're learning skills these days, that is going to be critical, especially the IT skill set. Okay, and there are a lot of free platforms are available. So this is one
See,
thing.
free platform is there. Plus, you see, people are very approachable right now. You know what? In a regular busy day, if you try to contact them, they would have a hard time how they can place you in the schedule. If you go to different webinars and if you even write to people on LinkedIn right now as a fresher, they will definitely entertain you. And when you are in college, I remember from IIM Ahmedabad days, so some of the professors, they used to tell us this, that the best opportunity for you to network is when you are just in college. People have so much affection for you at that time. You write to an industry leader, don't start asking for a job, but if you say for what kind of advice you want to take or what kind of idea you have which you want to share, people are very open to you right now. Many times the freshers don't realize their strength as much, so they don't even reach out. Right now is the time when you should reach out. And you know what, the kind of energy you guys have, that's very useful. And if you got some ideas also, then you are totally a great combination. Nobody can say no to you.
This is a wonderful tip, Samir, for the freshers. Okay, so I also think that they should write to the
Hmm.
senior management and the CEOs and all the big entrepreneurs. Okay, because
Hmm.
people love to talk to freshers. They just want they if they are going to reach them, they are going to get the reward very soon. This is my
See,
thing.
on the other hand, let me put it a little differently. Most of the time, people are, if I'm participating in any other chat like this, people are normally a lot worried about the future, and they're sort of even panicky, and people are calling it COVID situation. uh, you see, these are the fault lines where there are so many good opportunities available. Why are we not talking about those? Of course we have to be worried about people who are suffering. That's our responsibility. I mean, you can say we owe them something and we should help them, but our thoughts should not be totally engaged in what's really going to happen for 3 months. There are huge opportunities that were there even around dot-com burst era, and people were really just worrying about it, and sort of thinking as an employee that will I lose a job or something. And there were others who created businesses out of that situation. They had a hard time, but now these are the great names to talk about. So look at Make My Trip, again I'm mentioning it, but they had a very roller coaster time around the dot-com burst, but they were trying to do what is called windsurfing. They were not saying that, what, the seas are very tough, so I don't want to venture there. This is the time to get your gear, and if you are a guy with an idea and you think that you can plan, then do that, and spend a lot of time on your health also at this time. These are the best meditative times available, to tell you frankly.
That true, Samir. There is one another question coming from Shashikant, one of the viewers. Okay, I'm just going to display that. Do you see scope of implementing digitization for construction? Please read that. It's a new
So
follow.
do you see the scope of implementing digitization for construction industry? Is the new normal of working from home implemented across construction through digitization? Okay, so um, construction industry, uh, whatever I'm going to say is going to be based on my experience so far. Okay, so I have seen construction more as a touchy feely place. You want to go and see something, touch something. That's how the construction industry is. And you're saying, can people work from home, be still able to do it? It seems to be a long shot. I'm not sure how much digital technologies will help there. Even if they end up helping, what will happen is that the industries will run. But if your question was more on the employment side, employment opportunities will definitely go down. So whenever automation happens, that's what starts happening. So there are certain so I'm not talking about construction. I'm talking about manufacturing for a minute, just to draw an analogy. So one of my customers who are very big automobile manufacturers, they have one very interesting plant. And I was told that in the morning a person comes and just switches on something. The plant is all a bus, and it's a huge organization, and he's the only person there, and everything else is automated. So such things can still run, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't violate any of your social distancing norms. So I'm trying to picture how would that be in a construction kind of setup. Would you have automated things taking over? You can do that, but for sure it's not a very labor intensive scenario. And then the other side of construction, you really worry about doing a lot of selling in construction. Selling in construction is a pretty much a very personal kind of a sale cycle which happens, and that's possible through virtual stuff also. In fact, there are some organizations who were already toying with the idea of what is called experience centers, especially in construction industry, and those ideas were a little fancy so far. So they were using AV and AR, augmented reality, and virtual reality, those kind of things. But that looked like too futuristic about 6 months back. Now it is needed. So it looks like using those technologies is going to work quite well. And So I'm going to say to you, to your great question, go back and check out virtual reality. Virtual reality has answers for construction industry. A lot of virtualization is very specific to construction and manufacturing type of organizations.
I hope Samir has cleared your this thing okay to you, Sashi. Thanks for your question once again. And so my one of the question to you is that how do you see digital transformation in the IT industry, because that was our topic, and I really want you to talk about digital transformation specifically now during Corona time, that how it is going to impact the IT industry.
Okay, now digital transformation sounds like a simple word, and everybody can start talking about it. But I like to step back and sort of the way. Some of my customers are Fortune 500 organizations. When we go to them and they talk to us, there's nothing so simple that you can tell them about digital transformation. So let's step back a little bit about digital transformation and how it can happen now. So for people who are on the stream right now, one thing I want them to take away for digital transformation is that end of the day, it's a change management exercise. So there's a subject called change management. It's that exercise only. And if you see the word change itself, right now is the time when massive changes are happening. And if digital transformation allows you to navigate changes better, then looks like you're doing it well. So it's like a two-way street suddenly. So digital transformation is not only needed, but it can be done better also given these times. So for example, when we do digital transformation, we talk about two things. One is the management readiness for that. Do you know what kind of things you want to change? So things and functions, when you define it, that's easy to picture. But the behaviors were the most difficult part. Will people adopt to new technologies? So I'll give you an example which probably everybody on the call would understand, and then that can give you a reference point. So look at the digital transformation of the banks, the way it happened. So if you had friends and maybe family members working in the banks, for them it was very difficult because it was a big change for them. So they were saying, will they lose their jobs, and will it have a bad impact on us, and will we need to work more, will we lose our jobs? But what really happened, the IT implementation was easy, and computers were there and the systems were put in place, and even the customers were lining up. The difficult part was behavior change, where the people who were working on those platforms, and they were thinking they could become they end up being on the receiving end of it. They resisted it. Today there is no possibility of a resistance. You have to go digital, otherwise you can't run it. So I'll tell you a beautiful example right now, probably unfathomable, if I said to you. So BPO industry. BPO industry works under a lot of closely guarded norms, and you cannot take your cell phone inside, for example. I mean, such hard realities are there. You might have seen that, Suraj. But there is one BPO, which is working for me right now. About 100 people are there in their workforce, and they are helping us in one of our call process. That BPO is still working. And you will say, what the hell are you saying? We are following all the norms. The BPO is working from home. So we have given them what is called all-purpose desktops, and we have set up some very nice technology which TCL has given us, and that has made everything safe. And then we have created call routers for people on their own cell phones. You see, so these things we are sort of stretching the boundary a little bit. But if I propose to you something like this, and you are my customer, you will say, you will probably look at me and say, probably, whatever you were smoking, I also want to have it. And you will say, okay, get lost, something like that. But today you will say, okay, now looks like you are the guy who can tell me how to run my business in today's situation. So going back to your question, digital transformation and change management, they go hand in hand. So right now, digital transformation has a big scope. If you want to read more about it, I can supply a lot of literature. We actually have about 1 lakh courses on this topic only. So we've got a digital library which we offer to our large customers, which has about 45,000 videos and a lot of ebooks and stuff, and we sort of implement it on customer premises. So it's a large topic. It doesn't only start looking as simple as it sounds, but there's a lot of depth to it.
True that.
It also means that business and leadership has to be created. Those people who can really roll the process in a digital universe. You just can't have systems and not be using it. Putting the systems is easy, but using it is the part which takes trouble. It's going to happen faster for you.
Okay. So for Sashish's question, there is one comment coming from Harpreet Singh. I want you to see that in construction, digital can be done in sales, virtual reality. This is from our Harpreet Singh sir, I think. Designing of construction, designing by architects, customer service. Do you have
Look at this. I mean, this is a great observation. Whoever has made this observation probably knows what they're saying. And in a sense, whatever he has written here is actually the epitome of how it should be done. Those technologies he's mentioning, they were already in the surface. People were not really doing it because they had a lazy way of doing it already. I mean, they could walk in and talk to you and do something. Now these things you will see will create new satraps in the society. You will find some of the people, the next wave of $1 billion organizations, and I hope WebWisdom does that too, Suraj. And I think that's possible by being hopeful about what's going on and looking at the history that the $1 billion businesses were created around these fault lines only. And because you see, I'll just turn it back a little bit. All the people who are here on the call today, if they are entrepreneurs and they are thinking about entrepreneurship, what is entrepreneurship 101, which you get told by all the successful businessmen? Think for a second here. So they tell you, I'll sort of break it down. Maybe you will chime in and say that this is what you meant also, I thought so, is that entrepreneurship is about figuring out a problem and then solving it, isn't it? So you figure out a problem and solve it in a beautiful way. That's how you create Ola, that's how you create Uber. But in the normal times, it's very hard to figure out what are those problems that you want to solve. Now you got a laundry list of problems for the economy, isn't it? So why don't you start quickly looking at it and solving it? So entrepreneurship is a little easy here. Use digital tools. You see, I was saying that why I'm so hopeful about India and all the economy is that whatever is the catastrophe, but me and you are talking on a very high bandwidth line right now. A lot of guys are joining on Facebook and they're comfortable. There's electricity and there's AC and everything. You can start a business tomorrow also. You can have your website, all that you want to do. So it's not that you're stuck. It's just that it's a new world. Okay, and you just can't travel. That's the only limitation you have. So you can do everything right now, and you can actually launch new businesses and solve new problems, and that's what you need as an entrepreneur. Problems.
Okay.
And you got many.
So I just I'll just ask you one more thing that is related to. I mean, you are saying again, repeating that there will be things and IT can solve a lot of problems. Okay, but don't you think that IT products are ultimately going to depend on other industries, and are we going to depend on very few industries for the I mean improvement of the economy? What is your view on that?
Okay, I think I must respect what you just said. You said that IT is going to be dependent on other economy. It's mostly seen as a support service. So there has to be a principal whom you're serving, and if they are suffering, then you should suffer by that logic. So I think that's a very fundamental way to picture it. No doubt around it. So that's why I said, that it's a time of adjustment. So nobody. So there's in all the, let's say, in terms of structures which are stabilizing. Imagine a lot of water is falling and an avalanche is happening. While the avalanche is happening, you may not predict so much. When it settles down, then you can pick up the pieces and you know what the new reality gonna look like. So we cannot predict a lot about what's gonna happen in 3 months. But what I'm going to say to you, by the natural fact of the human discovery, some industries will die. Nobody's going to say anything about it. Many players will go bankrupt. Definitely that is going to happen. But that also means that there will be other people who will suddenly become dominant. So it's the same thing that, if the top 15 players go down, then the people who are next to them suddenly become prominent, and they'll start needing services and everything. Whoever is this was in a very classic fashion also, that if it doesn't kill you, then it makes you stronger, that kind of thing. So if you are a survivor, you will need all the IT. And I'll tell you one example. I can only talk about my industry with more confidence. So for StratBeans Consulting, we were only catering to large corporates, because they are the big money. They're capable of buying services and paying in time and a lot of that. So we were never going to schools and colleges and those kind of players. But today, suddenly, there's a lot of demand for our digital school system from coaching institute, and we are giving it free.
Okay.
Because we are thinking that we want to support them. So what I'm saying is that this demand is coming, from those coaching institutes, because a coaching institute today, as against a school, the students are really not dependent on them. They can say, okay, now looks like I don't want to talk to you. But if you are a school, you are still going to move the student across grades. So your certificate matters. So coaching institutes, and how many coaching institutes are in India, by the way? 5 lakh institutes. And they're all mostly brick and mortar, offline. Master Saab will come and they'll teach, and there'll be loudspeaker. That's a high-end technology. They have loudspeakers and maybe digital whiteboard. Now they are suddenly demanding this technology. If they are asking us and doing this, then think about all the other material they will need to be online. Similarly, new industries will sprout up, is all I'm saying. IT is going to be the backbone. Anything you are doing today, from start of your day to the evening, suddenly it's IT. Suddenly your telecom companies are going to be richer. We were looking at telecom companies not doing quite well. So then today you are upgrading your bandwidth, isn't it? Most of the people might have done it already, because the kids and the wife and the husband, everybody's, and even their dogs are on the internet today. So what the hell, really? Technology, you can't live without it.
Yeah, true that. So thanks for the insights, Samir. And more questions are coming from the viewers. Okay, I would like to show you one that is from Radhika. What skills specializations will help us IT professional to stay ahead of the curve in this situation? More advice, Samir, please give.
Okay, so you see, IT professionals, the kind of advice you might be expecting from me would be that I'll tell you, okay, start doing Python more. I'm not going to be able to tell you that, but I'll tell you something which is going to be a little more hard hitting here. So IT professionals normally, they should not be programmers. They should not think themselves as a programmer. They should be people who understand different businesses and facilitate it. So more like what you call functional skills are needed here. And if you're really serious about making a great career in IT, what you want to do is not really just learn some skills which are like, things, how do you code and stuff, and there will be many current technologies like, mobile, maybe Android programming, and maybe if you are high-end data sciences, analytics, but they don't take you anywhere. Even if you read them and you do them well, you need to know how to apply them, and that really happens through maybe some on-hand experience. And right now I'm seeing some very smart kids reaching out to business houses saying, can we get a internship? And they're not saying that we want internship just for the sake of doing it. They're saying, can you give us internship in your main critical business areas? Now, that kind of advice will really go a long way for an IT professional if they really wanted to make a career. So what's an IT profession really? If you're a fresher, let me give you a lowdown on that quickly. So when you start, you probably start with more hands-on skill. You are an individual performer. So the keyword is individual performer. So you must know, if you're sitting, you and your desktop, what can you do? How fast you can code, how accurate, and all that. The second step, the moment you are promoted and maybe you're doing well as an individual performer, you are a group worker really in that. And then your work is really a small part of something that someone else is also doing. So you probably have to integrate a lot. So what is that skill? That's project management skills. So you will realize that project management itself is a profession, and project management has a body of knowledge. So you really need to know that part. Then if you do these two parts well, you're probably maybe into your 5th or 6th year of career, maybe 7th year of career. By the way, till 1st year to 7th year, you have a lot of salary rise and everything. 7th year is typically when you start stagnating. So a lot of you guys who are doing great programming by year 7 are already feeling the pain of the same market that you were enjoying. And what is the law of the market in IT? If you're an expert, you have the shortest shelf life. So you don't want to become an expert of Python or whatever. So you're going to be outdated pretty soon. So what is the third stage? And that's what I'm really trying to give you advice on. I was not going to give you advice on the first and second stage. Third stage is, if let's say a business leader talks to you, can you even understand him? And you will say, you know what, do I really need to understand him? I'm an IT programmer. And that's when you are wrong. You really understand the industry, what is the role that technology is playing. You should be working on some projects which are slightly non-IT in nature. You should know how your IT services are being utilized by the business leaders. So I'll say, Suraj, I mean, you see that example, you've got more than 100 employees in your organization, and you see one of the brightest whom I have had a chance to meet. They impressed me by talking to me about what their customers are doing in their main line. Like, what is their business? If they're describing it, they know it so well. So my advice is, just get interested in knowing more about what the core idea of that business is. So if you're working in manufacturing sector, then you should know who's the buyer and who's the supplier, and what is the cost of input, and why is it still being sold, and what will make it sell more. And then go and do your R programming or Python or whatever. You're making a website, make a great website. I mean, if you're promoting it, then you should know why you're promoting it and what goes in doing this, what is the human behavior involved in it, beyond just making sure that you post a link to 100 sites, and be about it. You should know why you're doing it. So that's what really makes you a great IT professional. And no soon you realize that you are not a IT professional, but a business leader. So IT professional metamorphs into a business leader. That's what you want to target.
Great piece of advice, I would say, because mostly youngsters don't think like that. Okay, they just want to. I mean, they don't see it as a problem like that, and what they are doing, they don't know. Okay, they are just doing their job, and they just come and start doing
You're
that.
being
And
too hard on youngsters. I mean,
no,
maybe
I am also
maybe
young.
I
I am
wouldn't
also young,
agree with you on
Samir.
that.
Samir, I am also young. Okay.
Well, you see, let's put you to task here. So you see, when I'm
Please.
saying youngsters, let's try to break them down a little bit. People who are very new in the economy right now, and people who are maybe they were born in what uh, after 1990s, and then those are the youngest here. You have to see how their psychology is working, and they're not wrong when they think just the way they think. It's just that they are very much advanced in their thinking already. If you remember that Maslow hierarchy levels, which we use for defining a lot of human interactions, you will see that today's youngster, they're starting at self-esteem level. They're not at a level where you've got a job security thing. And at the time, Suraj, you were getting into the organization, appraisal was a big deal. And the
Correct.
idea was that if you appraisal was linked to salaries, so you were, not you, but generally all of us were looking at a carrot and stick kind of a system which could drive us. Your challenge with the youngsters is that they don't really care about carrot and stick, because they don't really have the same carrot and the same stick working on them. They're starting at a self-esteem level. So if you talk to them at self-esteem level, they will actually reciprocate. you really need to, as an employer, we need to tell them what is the part that their contribution or the work, the way it is fitting into the whole picture of our business. So if I'm a CEO, I should be able to break it down for them. That's probably the skill which is needed right now. And you talked about digital transformation. It's all about the business leadership. They don't know how to navigate these very sophisticated pieces of individual who are coming down in the work stream right now, and they are sort of comparing the same principles which they learned and were applied for pre-millennials. I talked to my son and I looked at the younger son also, and the elder one goes to college, and the kind of those kids are not really scared about job as much. They're more worried about whether they're gonna have a meaningful job or not, and that's a very welcome change. I mean, so I'm thinking that uh, they're the best resources available this time, luckily for our organizations.
Okay, so one more question is coming from the viewer. Brijesh is asking something. How do you see Indian organizations, non-IT, are placed from human resource point of view in digital transformation journey? As organization finds it difficult to get their people on board, plus organization legacy is a big resistance in getting things done.
Wonderful question, Alfie. I mean, this question really resonates well with what's going on. So we are talking about non-IT, and we are talking human resource prism here. And the specific part the gentleman is asking is about, let's say, onboarding going on right now. So I cannot name this very large bank, but I'm advising some other large business schools. So I think it was Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, perhaps. So their graduates, they had to join this organization. Their induction happened totally online, so they never met anybody. They just got onboarded on a virtual platform. Now that looks fancy, but it was really necessary this time, because you see, you can't really onboard people, and their training is also ongoing right now. So especially if you talk about onboarding people and HR, HR has been pretty smart piece of organization in most of the organizations, really, because HR, just behind finance, for example, finance was the first to take all the technology in. HR was the next in. So HR today, if you go to any good organization, you will find that at least their payroll would be all online. Their HRMS system would be online. They will have master data totally online. People will apply for leaves and see their benefits, and their salary slip will always be digital. So those kind of things they have done, which has really set us on a stage where we are thankful to HR leaders for being so insightful, that it is actually just a little bit of breach that they have to cross. Around COVID time also, joining is definitely possible. But you see, there was an undertone in the question also, the resistance and the behaviors that are already there. So the leadership, I mean, big resistance in getting things done, and the legacy guiding it. So Mr. Brijesh, good news is that today there's no way they can resist. It's a go no go situation, and this is the only way they can have people come on board. I think there are bigger issues to face for HR though. Those are around how to make sure that the people are productive while they are not reporting for work. Many companies and non-IT especially can't work right now. So I have got a customer, and they reached out to us, and they were very insightful. I can only share what they did, and perhaps this gives you some insight. So they said to me that I've got 3,000 wonderful people sitting at home. Of course they are great, they couldn't have come to job, but what do I do? And I think, and that HR leader was pretty insightful. So he said, what I think is that they know their subject matter, they're gurus, they're very good at what they do. So what if I could really transfer their knowledge into pieces which are non-tacit? Tacit understanding is when it is all in your brain and and you can do it. So he created a checklist. He gave that checklist to us. We put it on our collaboration platform. That checklist went to all those leaders, and it told those leaders who were sitting at home, those 3,000 great folks, that these are the items which are important to the company for competitiveness. Can you share your thoughts? And here is a method to share your thoughts. So there was a little tool we gave them. It is called Articulate Peak. So you click on it, and you may have some support material. You want to talk about, let's say, your supply chain in a certain part, and you are an expert of that. So you start talking about it, 15 minutes, whatever you get asked so often. And imagine you are a digital marketing expert, and you say, okay, now how do I do a very good content strategy? You open up your screen again, talk to yourself, just click that button, and that's all you need to do. Switch off that button after you're done. And then what happens is that a big engine starts kicking in the background. All that you said, recorded, goes into an infinite bandwidth and storage pot, which is the repository, and all of it gets tagged with the content that you were talking about, the subject matter and stuff. And then they told me, after about 20 days of effort, that we have created content. If we had to create it through vendors, it would have cost me 9.5 crore rupees. Now think about it. All that video content, micro file, tagged, the next stage that they're going to do is, when the company opens up and everybody is there, they will launch a chatbot like AI enabled tool, on which you will just say something, and whatever you're saying related to that, the idea will pop up to you, that how do you do that. You can train yourself doing this, or you can even support a customer. So if you look at how people are making most of this time, there are those possibilities. But thank you, Mr. Brajesh, for asking this question. I should not underestimate your task, because it's going to be tough if the top leadership doesn't sponsor and support it well, and the behaviors must change before any of this can see the light of the day.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much, viewers. Okay, and thank you, Samir, for joining us today. So this was our topic for today's discussion: digital transformation for IT companies during Corona time. And wonderful questions came from the viewers, and wonderful insights came from Samir as well. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And this was today's session with Samir. And please stay at home and stay tuned to Sunday Shorts for next episode. Thank you so much. Please take care. And I'm going to stay for 2 minutes more, okay? And with Samir, if there are any questions coming, please let me know in the comment box.
Okay, so you can possibly tell me, Suraj, a little bit what's happening in digital marketing space. How is it faring in the COVID era?
I'll tell you that when this started, okay, then the clients which I had, okay, mostly all of them, they got scared about the things just when it has started, okay.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that the impact is in India a lot because of the big lockdown period which is happening. But I also got scared. We also got scared when this happened, because all the clients were saying the same thing. Because if the sales is not happening, marketing is going to, they are going to stop the marketing at that moment only. But the thing is that now it is picking up, and globally, the impact is not so great. I mean, people are willing to market themselves in this period. They are ready, and they are more. They are becoming more tech savvy, I would say. Okay, more preferring this option of working from home like that. And I'm happy to seeing that. And just in 30-40 days, we are just picking it up again with new clients and new things. So I mean, for me, it is not.
So I have one more question here. I think that while active marketing may have been hit, but don't you think that these are the quiet times, the best possibly for creating the brand, and brand building was probably overshadowed by lead generation efforts in digital marketing. So right now, people can probably focus on the brand persona and try to build it, spend more time thinking about what are the territories they serve, and maybe even strengthen their prospect pipeline and talk to them and really have a better preparation. So I would think that people should be spending more on digital marketing if they really want to have a rebound.
So I'd say here that if they are not going to spend much, okay, my answer to this is that they don't think like that. They are going to stop it completely, okay.
Okay.
If they want to conserve, because you also said this thing that they are going to conserve some cash and some I mean account into their on their own hand, okay. But they should start spend. They don't stop here. They would spend less, but they should continue that. That is the right answer, okay. Because, and I think right time to build the brand, okay.
Yeah.
Lead generation might be slow, but that is going to happen. If we are getting the leads, then they also get the leads. The most affected industries are travel and hospitality, and they're going to be they're going to pick it up in after some time. But I think they should not stop marketing for this time, because this is going to be the blessing in disguise, might be. Yeah, one more question is coming from Kalyan. I'm just going to show that. Thanks, Amit, for. Oh, that is not a question. That is just a comment from Kalyan. Thanks,
Very,
Kalyan. Thank you
very,
so much.
very kind Kalyan for
Yeah,
those
thank
nice
you so
words.
much. Samir, I think we are done for today. Okay, thank you so much for your time, for your valuable time. And so people just stay at home. This is a bad phase, but make it good for yourself. Okay, by doing the right sort of marketing. I'm just telling you about from the business perspective. Just stay healthy and be at home. Thank you so much, Samir. Thank you so much, viewers. Bye bye.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Suraj. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, viewers.